This is sort of like an ethereal piece. You can imagine this is going on. People are walking around in this underground jungle that they're trying to get to the center of the earth. I want you to pay attention to the quality of the chords. Are they triads? Are they major? Are they minor? Are they seventh chords? Are they diminished chords, augmented chords? Just take a listen and see if you can hear what kinds of chords these are. I'll skip through to a few places. Okay, so that's the first bit. Let's go over here. Let's talk about, just from your ears, are those chords in that last bit, are they all the same type of chord? Is each chord a different quality? What kind of motion? Is it oblique? Is it contrary? Is it parallel? Type away, my friends. Don't be afraid to say something incorrect. I'm not going to be grading you on this. I'm just presenting this. Are all the chords moving in the same direction? All the voices in each chord moving in the same direction? Is one voice being held while other notes moving? Or are the top notes moving up and the bottom notes moving down? Very simple. So all the notes are moving, right? There's no notes being held over while the chord changes underneath it. Is that correct? Yes, the outer voices are moving. So, Susan, are they moving in the same direction or in opposite directions? Correct. Okay, so all the voices are moving in the same direction. They're either going up together or down together throughout the entire piece. And the way Susan figured that out is she listened to the top voice and the bottom voice. She couldn't quite make out what the middle voices were doing, and she made a comment about those. We were undergraduate students and taking dictation. They were doing chord voicings. The teacher would say, listen to the outer voices and get those down, and then listen to the chord qualities. Is it major? Is it minor? And then try to fill in the voices that way. It's not easy to do, but that's one of the techniques that you learn. Charlie, the way that he's got this orchestrated makes it very difficult and confusing to hear. So they're all moving in parallel. Are the chords the same quality? Are they major, minor? Are they seventh chords? Do the qualities change or do the qualities the same? So let's take a listen to that. Here, let me play something on the piano for a second, all right? So I'm gonna play something and I'm gonna change the chord quality on every chord. Right, so I just ascended, but every chord was a different kind of chord than the previous one. Right, so I'm going to do something now where all the chords are going to be the same quality. See how smoothly that moves up? So let's take a listen to the example again and see which one. The same or different? No, actually, see, that's part of the orchestration. It makes it confusing. They're all the same kind of chord. So let's take a look at the score. So he's writing it in 4/2 time, 2 whole notes per measure. And he's writing it, these are all half notes. And this is also in concert key. If we look here at our trombones and tubas, we'll notice that if we look at the trombones, we've got an E flat and a B flat in trombones 3 and 4. So that's a fifth. And then we've got a G and a D in trombones 1 and 2, which gives us so E, G, B flat, and D natural. So what kind of a chord is that? Come on, graduate students. Yes, thank you, Charlie. Very good. It's a major 7th chord. Major 7th chord is supposed to be happy. Ah! Right? They're supposed to be happy. Bernard Herrmann manages to make them sound haunting and mysterious and dark. How does he do that? Register, orchestration, and voice spacing. What's really cool here is that, and this is in a low pitch and dynamics, it's quiet because this is different than, right? So he's got these guys playing fairly soft. He's got, right? And on some of these, he has the tuba doing that. But with other ones, like if we go up here, right here, right? He's got the bassoons doing it. He's got, that's right, Susan, the open parallel fifths make it, right, that's part of it because you're hearing and down here, right? So what he's doing is he's taking a major 7th chord. I'll play it up in this register. And that's how he's voicing it. But then he's taking the 2nd note from the top and the 4th note from the top, and he's dropping it down an octave. So that you're also getting, and if it's down here, right? So this sounds much different than that. That's a drop 2 and drop 4 voicing. Stan Kenton used that often in his big band writing. That's a great voicing to understand, where you take a major 7th chord or a minor 7th chord, and right, and if I play it up here and I take the 2nd note from the top and the 4th note from the top, well, let me play it here so you could see my hands. Right, so I take the 2nd note from the top and the fourth note from the top, and I drop them down an octave. right? And you could play them chromatically. But then you can also do things which he did at the beginning of the cue, where he started off with went from the minor seventh, drop 2 and 4, and just moved that up a fifth. Now, you know, parallel fifths, you're not supposed to be able to write that. That's horrible writing. Well, no. There's plenty of examples of Mozart and Beethoven and Bach doing parallel fifths and having their outer voices jump into an open fifth or an open octave in the same direction. There's all sorts of examples of that. They knew the rules. They just needed to have their solutions for the pieces of music they wrote. What's cool about this voicing is that you can do all sorts of nice stuff with it. So let's say that you're playing something in parallel motion. You can keep common tones and move things around chromatically and go from an E minor down to E flat major, and then E flat minor to D major. Right? And go from D flat major to D flat minor. And in the 60s, you heard that kind of a thing. Unless I think I'm going out of my head. I think, right, there's a song, I think I'm going out of my head, that's like that kind of thing, going from a minor seventh to a major seventh on the same note. You can come up with all sorts of really cool chord progressions, like, right, going down in thirds with the major seventh chord. You can go up. You can go, yeah, okay, so do this. Up a minor third, down a major third, up a minor third, down a major third, and then to the minor. Knowing harmony and how you can manipulate harmony can add so much to your music. So here we've got our tubas. With the trombones 1 and 2. Actually, let's make this louder so it's more easily heard. Right? And the crescendos are really a big part of it. Now let's just listen to the trombones, the 4 voices with just the trombones. And then when we add the tubas, right? Orchestration. Yeah, that's right, Austin. They do sound very haunting and powerful. Orchestration. Remember in the piece that I played you before that I wrote, how I stacked instruments together and the aggregate sound changes the way that you perceive the information that you're being given, right? Because they become like a combination color. So if I just take off the first and second trombones and I just play the third and fourth trombones, you've got that. But then when you add the tubas, and if it's well played, they become like one instrument where the tuba can give you the fundamental and the trombone can give you the fundamental and the overtones, even though you still hear the overtones from the tubas, but you get like this aggregate combination sound, and it's really cool. He plays each one of these phrases and then he switches to a different food group. So the second one is the bassoons. Okay, then the clarinets. So the bass clarinet has got a great sound. So that's clarinets 3 and 4 and the bass clarinets, right? That's doing there. And then when you add clarinets 1 and 2. And then the next bit, he starts off with just the trombones. And then he adds in the tubas here. And then right here, you got the bassoons and the clarinets. So that's really cool. So now if I go over here, I did the same thing with flutes, right? And you can hear just how different feeling it gives you when it's orchestrated differently. right? That's so different. That's ethereal and airy and light, as opposed to the brass and the double reed of the bassoons and the single reeds of the clarinet. You know, that's a hollower sound. The bassoons have a lot of overtones because of the double reed, makes it much raspier, and the brass can be raspy or pure tone, depending upon how they play it. Now, the way that I orchestrated this was I have the top notes on the flute, right, the first and the third, and then the second and the fourth note, of the first from the top note, the third from the top, and then in the alto flute, the second from the top and the bottom. And then the bottom here is played by the bass flute. Alto flute and bass flute together. Bass flute and flute. So that's got that open spacing in the voicing there of right, but then once you add the alto flute, it goes back to the just the alto and with the bass. And there's also a piano reduction of this. When it gets into this area here, well, you're not supposed to play the same thing in both hands, right? Well, he's not really doing that. They're all interlocked together when you hear the combination of how the sounds are. And also, we saw last week that Debussy has passages that go like that. So, if Debussy can do it, so can Bernard Herrmann